Alright, so I recently played through Just Cause 3. Thought I would start with a kind of funny story. I had a digital copy of the game, but I thought, I really enjoyed 4. Why not get a physical edition, have that extra level of preservation for a game in the series in my collection? Crazy enough, I found like a day one launch edition, and it was only like a couple dollars more. I think less than 15 USD total. And it actually came with a code for Just Cause 2, which I have on Steam, but I thought, why not also get the Xbox version? But I knew it was a risk because the code is so old. The game's from 2015. It's been sitting there for almost a decade, and it actually worked. It was a pain in the ass, but here I'm going to essentially refill my ammo here by dying. This is all pre-recorded gameplay. I was curious as to what I was doing there, but yeah, I actually had to bust out an Xbox 360 and put in the code through the 360 because it wouldn't work on a newer console for some reason. So yeah, I guess we got lucky though because they're shutting down the store like really soon. So that code might be dead like within a few weeks or months or whatever it is from now. But as for the game itself, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little worried about how much there would be to talk about because I was honestly expecting essentially Just Cause 4 again, just with a few less quality of life features or, just certain items and abilities. I correctly sort of guessed that some of the different attachments that you had for your grapple and 4 weren't going to be here. But maybe the story and world, they might be equivalent or even better. Actually, judging by what I was seeing online, I was actually kind of expecting it to be better just because people seem to, from what I've seen, really like this game, and especially too. But, the overall gameplay and just the general loop of things was a lot different from what I was expecting. A big thing you may have noticed right away here is that you don't have what I sort of call the lock on aim that you see in something like GTA. And I'm not going to lie, that was disappointing. I know some people would probably be happy about it because, it's the game playing itself too much or whatever. But I feel like GTA and Just Cause 4 were built very well around it to where you still have to be, really mindful of your surroundings and, taking cover or taking advantage of the different tools in your arsenal. I was about to say, don't tell me I died right there with that stupid move right away. Wouldn't be the first time. But yeah, I'm just terrible at aiming, especially with the gamepad. Like I said, I was playing on an Xbox. In retrospect, I kind of wish I was playing the PC version just because I would much rather use a keyboard and mouse in this situation. I don't know, though. It wasn't bad. There is a lot of aim assist. It was definitely doable. I didn't find myself getting too frustrated with my lack of talent. But I'd still prefer the alternative. Oh, right there too. That another minor thing. I forget if 4 even had it too. But as you can see, like I felt like I was knocking people to the ground a lot. But then you don't have a ground takedown. I don't remember for sure if 4 had one. Maybe this wasn't as much of a thing that I really thought of back then. But that would be really handy instead of wasting ammo or waiting for them to get up to throw a punch that might not even kill them to begin with. Maybe some sort of knife or a heavy melee attack would be nice too. Overall, though, the main cycle of this game is you just go around different army bases slash towns, and they give you chaos objects to take care of, with destruction, of course. And it's fine, it works well, but I once again just preferred 4. I feel like it's a quality versus quantity type situation. Oh yeah, because I held in way too long there, but because you had to take over a settlement, you need to take over many different set up towns and bases and that. Where in 4 it was 1, but there was a lot more variety and it felt more tailor made each time. To where now it's kind of like, sure, stuff is in different positions, but it's kind of the same thing a lot. And like I said, it's a fun loop. I wouldn't say that I was really that close to really being bored or sick of it. But at the same time, it was a little more fun with, the other gameplay loop of the series I've experienced. Like, even overall, I think when I looked at my hours in the game, I think I had like 40 in this and maybe high 20s, maybe 30 in 3, or I'm sorry, in 4. So that's a decent amount, almost 10 more hours in this game. But like I said, I feel like I enjoyed my time more or less time around. Another thing is, I wish the general loop, like, I don't know if I necessarily agree 100% with the way progress was tracked. Like, I'm not one to complain because I really suck. But especially if you're more skilled and you're looking for a challenge, I could, like, if you die, you just go back to the base, and like everything you already destroyed is still destroyed. You just need to take out the other chaos objects you need, and it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe a checkpoint system. They keep track a lot of the time of what percent of the settlement that you've taken over. So I don't know if they do a 25, 50, 75 checkpoint deal. Or another thing, even I thought of too. I mean, maybe they can split up by section, or what I was specifically about to go for was, if you didn't need to necessarily take over the entire base, at least for some of the smaller ones, just because it's annoying as shit when you've got like 85, 90% of the area taken over, but you're missing one loudspeaker or a gas tank, and then you're searching all over for it, and then maybe you'll die sort of searching for it, not paying enough attention to what's around you, and then it's just, not fun to then just mindlessly just try to get to that one thing you're missing. And I'm not saying they shouldn't incentivize completely 100% clearing the base. I feel like, they could have thrown in a little reward if you kept going and got it in one shot even. I don't know what would have necessarily been the best. Maybe some extra gears, or because like I said, the main things I think of are like maybe skins or whatnot. But then at that point, you're kind of adding new stuff to the game that's not really here. So I don't know, but some people would probably have fun even just trying to, if you had a leaderboard attached to it or something. Forget if they even did. They have a leaderboard attached to so many things in this game. I don't even remember. But another thing I didn't prefer with this game is the way quick travel is handled. Like in 4, you had the different pilots who can drop stuff off for you or bring you wherever you want to go. Or not everywhere. I think in both these games it was certain, checkpoints along the map selectable. But you had to sort of be a little skilled with it. Not that it was that hard, but you couldn't be careless with it because you only had so many of them, especially earlier on in this game. You have a flare system. Yeah, I guess you still have to be careful early on when you only have a couple. But it's like, it gets to the point where it's like, okay, I'm down to one or two. When I go to my next settlement, I should restock them. Feels, I don't know, a little out of the way and just not as fun, I guess. I don't know if that's the best way to put it, because I guess quick travel in general isn't, supposed to be really a super fun experience. More of a quality of life thing. But one thing that I do think I liked better in this game, though, was sort of the air physics. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I felt like this time around, your parachute felt quicker, which sort of relieves some of my concern about earlier games, because I felt like the parachute in 4 just wasn't as quick or fun to use, and I was sort of worried if that would make some of the older games feel a little more sluggish, but this game I feel like disproved that. But even the wingsuit, I felt like it wasn't as reliable and probably affected by the wind in the game as, how well I can navigate and rise and fall or whatever. And I could see an argument for both. I could see it being a little frustrating to not have that reliability, but I think it was a fun challenge-ish. And it's something I feel like they can easily fix with like the gear challenges if they had gears that added wind resistance to your wingsuit. Maybe there actually was. I don't remember this being as much of a thing later in the game, but I may have just gotten used to it at that point. The gear challenges in general were pretty fun too. I don't know if it's supposed to be sort of like, because I didn't do the stunt missions in 4 because there were so many of them and activating some of them was a bit of a pain in the ass and I just didn't find it as fun. But here, that's how you get your upgrades. And there's, a lot of variety. And it's nice to, take a little break from the standard loop to try a little challenge with all the different tools you have. I did get most of the upgrades, but I was not good at the precision aiming challenges, so I didn't get all the gun upgrades, and I didn't get... I forget what it was exactly, but for some of the bases, you would get like a challenge where you have infinite ammo on a big gun or a vehicle. It was the vehicles I struggled with there to, just take out the base without anyone going after you as quickly as possible. What the hell am I doing? I think I kind of remember. I think I was sort of forgetting what that chaos object even was and was looking in the wrong places for it. Oh yeah, I'm thinking that thing is it, but it's not. Yeah, I give up and go to the map. I will say I did enjoy the map. I don't know if the different biomes are like any bigger or whatnot than they were in 4, but I feel like 4, probably because of the general story being tied to weather weapons. Oh, I guess that was the right thing. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I do remember going after the wrong thing though at one point. But because that was more, tied to the story, it just stood out more. But I don't know. I remember the second island had, a lot of caves unlike the other areas, and I think the last one had some deserty and ice areas too. I do feel like the last island was a little disappointing overall because I don't know. I feel like you got in a really good loop because there's a good mix of the military bases and the towns. But then when you get to the last island, you have one capital city, which was really fun. But besides that, out of the, I think, was it like 13, the most in the game of the settlements you have to take over if you're, trying to get everything. Because I think you only need to clear, I don't know, half of them or something, but I'm going for everything. I think only maybe 2 half at max even had towns to begin with. I can only remember 2 for sure when I, started to notice something was up. And granted, they do add some mining facilities, but they're really similar to the military bases, just with a couple different items. So I feel like that was a bit of a letdown. And I feel like also how you got the gear challenges. Like I felt like in the first 2 islands, you were unlocking a gear challenge or 2 with each settlement you were taking over. But in the last island, I feel like after taking over one, you'd get you would almost get them all at once, maybe get 1 or 2 more after, and it just didn't. I don't know. It didn't flow as well for me. I didn't have a rhythm going that I liked like I did in the previous 2 islands. I don't know if they're trying to do something different or maybe, I don't know, they're just trying to complete the game at that point, but it just felt really off to me. Besides that, the story is fine. Not the best, but, serviceable. I feel like that's, not the top thing you're looking for, quality in this series of. The characters, though, I would say it's on par with 4. 10-second spoiler alert right now. Unfortunately, they killed my favorite character, Dima. That was a bummer. And the other thing that I was kind of confused with, I guess, was I think her name was Alicia. Like, she appears in a lot of the radio communications, but I don't think she physically appears, and I don't really know what her role really was. I think there may have been something they had like an introduction in the very beginning. I just kind of forget what it was. It was interesting too. The cutscenes here are the same that they were in 4 with this sort of alternative style, which I don't mind. But because I was thinking that she was the person they were trying to put back in charge of the country, but and then that turned out to be someone else who did physically appear. So I don't know, that something seemed off there, I guess, too. But I found it interesting overall to be going to Rico's homeland. I felt a little extra motivation there for Rico to liberate it. And I'm really curious, especially going backwards too. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised either way. I wouldn't say I would be disappointed if it doesn't happen, but it would be really cool if we see stuff with some of the characters we were introduced to here from, once again, Rico's home country play a role, maybe particularly in the first game, or maybe see even Di Rovello, maybe hints at him getting into power here, maybe seeing a little of him beforehand. It's certainly really interesting to be able to look through that perspective, and even too, if a character you like dies, if going in the series backwards, then it's kind of like, well, it's a bummer future games won't have them, but hey, I get to go back to 2 more games where they might be there and get to enjoy them, I guess. But it was kind of funny because I was thinking, especially right around when I was starting to get into the DLC, like, I'm surprised they haven't done a jetpack in Just Cause, or at least Just Cause 4. That seems right up their alley, and sure enough, the one DLC here gives you one. And I felt like it was implemented really well with the wingsuit. Very unique and fitting for the series, I feel like. I will say, though, it does feel a little, like, broken at times, just with how quick you can go. Like, I don't know, part of me was like, it feels like cheating, but at the same time, I feel like when I wanted to go a long distance, I would just order a plane if I didn't really have quick travel yet. And this is essentially just circumventing that. I do think, though, it sort of defeats the purpose of the wingsuit at that point, though. And does definitely affect, you've probably seen me here zipping around really quick on that, which was kind of nice and refreshing, especially I think I got it when I reached that final island, to freshen things up a bit. Like I said, not that it was necessary, but it was still appreciated. The one thing I will say, though, because you have, weapons that you would have off of a wrong way, but off of a powerful fighter plane attached to the wingsuit, so that definitely felt a bit like cheating too. So I don't know, maybe make that if they ever bring it back, a very late game item, or have it be DLC, especially now that it was absent from the last game, as far as I'm aware. Or at least, if you're gonna have the jetpack, maybe save the big guns for late game. The mech suit was really fun too. I like sort of the gravity twist they added to the whole thing with that level of control you have with the one arm, almost like a forcey push, or just grabbing stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. Little cut here because it took me forever to find that switch for that door, but one thing that I kind of find funny about the whole thing too is that throughout the game and in the DLC, there's this whole thing about the Bavarium mineral here, about how powerful it is. You don't want it in the wrong hands, or really anyone's hands. Preserve it. But then you get weapons, fueled by Bavarium, and this gun, I think. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's supposed. I think it uses regular ammo technically when you want to reload, or pick up from enemies, but it does sort of seem like you're just shooting Bavarium out of it by the hundreds, so that's kind of funny. I will say the one thing, I am probably going to take a bit more of a break between 2 and 3. I'm looking forward to 2, but I kind of didn't take much of a break between 4 and its DLC, because I did take a break in the middle of 4 waiting for its DLC to go on sale. But I'm thinking about playing some other stuff just in between a couple games maybe. And then I obviously got to play through 2 before I talk about it, so be prepared for a longer turnaround if you want to see that, but don't want to get fatigued. As I was saying, though, I felt like I enjoyed these games more before I realized that your ammo refilled when you die. You saw me do that right at the beginning of this. But once I figured that out, it's like, okay, I know it's more fun to sort of try to manage your ammo and, see what you can use if you run out from the weaponry available from enemies and that. But at the same time, it's, an efficiency to me to have, the best gun going. And once that door was open, I couldn't really shut it, knowing why struggle with with a gun that isn't as fun. But that sort of management was also kind of fun. So it's a weird deal. Like I said, though, I'm kind of hoping that I forget about it and rediscover it through my Just Cause 2 playthrough. I will say that I do feel like the objectives in the DLC weren't as, I don't know if that's the right way to put it, that they weren't as unique. Like, it felt more on par with base game, where I felt like Just Cause 4 really went out there for some stuff, which I'd prefer. I don't know what the DLC situation with 2 or 1 would be. Oh, the story missions too. 'Cause I was talking about sort of the pacing on the final island, because I remember too, like I felt like I had to keep getting caught up the other islands of the story missions, that I should have probably bounced it a little bit more with taking over settlements. But here, I felt like there wasn't enough main story missions on the main island. I will say some of the story missions weren't as great either. I did like the last ones they would have in the area, where you sort of go around helping various different people out at the different settlements you've taken over. I didn't like the ones where you had to sort of, maybe it was even a side mission, but it sort of showed up like a main one, where you had to, I think it was for Dima, you had to follow some pipes around to find a secret base. I didn't find them to be fun, and there was a couple of frustrating missions that I felt like could have been better. From what I remember, it has been a little time since I've played through the Force campaign, but even though I felt like they could have done a little more with their gimmick, I still felt, in general, like most of the story missions were fun. But here, there was a few that just, I don't know, they didn't click with me as well. Maybe that has more to do with some of the gameplay changes in that than anything, but thought it was worth noting. One thing I do like about the DLC too is that there are some hints, seemingly, towards 4, I think. I mean, maybe they're sort of there from the beginning and always sort of like this, but you kind of see Black Hand sort of coming into more prominence, and this DLC I'm playing through right here sort of deals with weather weaponry, which was obviously the focus next time around. And I really like stuff like that. I wonder if 2 will have anything like that. And I think that's all I really have to say. Definitely, a good time, even if I still think I personally prefer 4. But yeah, it will be fun when I get to, like I said, it might be a while to finally now get to play the one that people really seem to like in 2 next time.